Hello. Hello, good evening, everyone. Good evening. You're all welcome to today's section. Um, Glad you're all here early, and I'm happy to see everyone again. Okay. Before we begin, I'd like us to quickly start with our takeaway from the last class. I'd like three or more. I'd like three people to come up and give a takeaway from the last class. Feel free to unmute your mic and speak up, and also raise up your hand if you feel like you want to say something. I'd like to hear from you. Okay, Mr. I don't know if it's a man. Yeah, you can speak, Obaro. You can unmute, Mr. Obaro. Um,
Okay. Good evening, everybody. This class
Good evening, sir.
firefighting maintenance. Hello, can you hear me?
yeah, we can hear you.
Hello,
Go ahead. Yes, please, we can hear
am I
you.
being heard?
Yes. Go ahead, sir. We can hear you.
Okay. 5 points in fire safety management. Number one is prevention of the fire. Number two, protection of both the occupants and the property. Number three, detection of the fire. Number four, suppression of the fire.
Yeah, we can hear you, sir. Is that all?
Number 5, fight the fire. That's it.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you very much, sir. I think his network is. This is network kicked him out. Would any other person like to give their take home from the last class? Mr. Daniel, would you like to say something?
Good evening.
Good evening.
What I learned in last class was the firefighting preparedness. We were made to understand that fire does not give warning, and there are things to prepare for. To prepare for fire, we should equip the building with fire extinguishers, smoke detectors. We should have a safe emergency exit area. Also train workers in case there is fire outbreak. We should also assign roles to workers who can battle the fire in case of any fire outbreak. And we also were told of what to do when there is fire. We should raise alarm. If the fire is from the power source, let's say generator, what we do, we should switch off the generator. Then if the personnel is able to use a fire extinguisher, he use the fire extinguisher if he's trained to do so. I think that is the few things that I took from last class.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Daniel. I can see Madam Rita is here. Chipo. I don't know who else would like to say something about your take on from the last class. Any other person? So we can get started with the class for today.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. What I would have honestly said, the first two people have said what I needed to say, but just a little addition to that. Our fire extinguishers must be serviced, so we are prepared for fire if it eventually happens. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. All right. The facilitator is here, and I think he can commence with the class now.
Good evening, everybody. Please kindly
Good
confirm
evening,
that.
sir.
Good evening, sir.
All right, great. Hold on, I'm trying to share my screen. So please kindly confirm that you can see my screen.
Yes, sir. Yes, we can see the same.
All right, great. So good evening once again. I've been here since 9, and I had the conversation, and it was sort of interesting, and I had to just sit back and try to see maybe the level of understanding of your last class. Though the network was a bit shaky for some people, but I think I took the most part of it. So it's always beautiful to talk about safety. Beyond being beautiful, is also very important, because the essence of us facility managers managing building is actually to ensure that there's comfort and safety in that building, that the users of that building are comfortable and they are safe while using that space or while occupying that space. So as facility managers, you cannot overemphasize the importance of understanding what fire extinguishers are, where to use them, which fire to use which, and how to use them. Well, today we won't be talking about safety. We'll be talking about something different. So I turned on my video because, I mean, sometimes when people are talking, it's always very good. You have a feel of their video to follow up better. So we're going to be talking about something different today. We're going to be looking at facility management business case. As facility managers, part of what we do is to build cases and going forward to ensure that we get approval for those cases. So you cannot go through this program and not get to understand what a business case is and how to build a business case. That's the essence of this course. That's why we are here. So I implore you to pay attention and ask questions as much as you can. I like class to be very interactive. So if you have a question, raise your hand and I'll pause and let you ask that question. Like I said, I really want the class to be interactive, to try to ask questions as much as possible. Of course, I'm sure this is not your first course in this program, so you probably have seen, all of the format and how it typically runs. However, I mean, that's me. You can get to know me and try to, let's connect. It's always good that as players in the industry that we are able to connect, and where we need, each other, where we need to partner, where we need to work together, we explore those opportunities and collaborate and be able to create something of value. My name is Owobo Semudiame, Ose for short. I don't have to read out my bio. I mean, it's there on the screen, so you can see my bio. Like I said, it's good to connect. I'm on LinkedIn. If you go to LinkedIn, you just type Owobo Semudiame, I'm sure I'll pop up there. I'm also on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. So you can connect with me, everywhere, and have a feel of, what interests me and what I talk about. Please, let's try to mute our mic so that we don't interrupt the class. Please, whose mic is on? Yes, okay. So I'm sure you already know the house rules, right? I would have loved for us to have an introduction. I mean, everybody introduce themselves, but I think that's going to take so long. Let me try to see how many students we have in the class. So we have just 19. I think we can do that. So I already did my own introduction. So I'd like for us to, each and every one of us to do that. Let's start with Mr. Lewis or Mr. Lewis, and then we can then take it one after the other from there. Just not too much, just your name, what you do, and where you work. I think that's fine.
All right. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
My name is Joseph Pere Lewis. I work with Bayelsa Property and Investment Company with more than 5 years of experience in the real estate. I would say a number of my properties in Lagos. So I find it very needful. That's why I decided to enroll for this course.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Lewis.
Thank
So,
you.
if you could just add, add what you do where you work. I mean, your designation and what you do there. So basically, the three things are your name, where you work, and what you do there.
I manage a company on behalf of the state.
Okay, all right. Next, please, can we just roll? Anybody pick the mic, please? I don't think I should be calling names. Let's just do this quickly so that we can move on.
Good evening, sir.
Okay.
My name is
Good
Rita
evening.
Kocharo. I work with Max-Migold as the Management Systems and Standards Manager. I have over 17 years experience in facility management, but I just want to continue to expand on what I know. No knowledge is lost. That's why I'm here. Thank you.
Yeah, great. So, next.
Good evening. My name is Daniel Ikwere. I work with Presco PLC in Edo State as an assistant workshop manager.
Okay. Next. Can somebody else speak the mic?
My name is Edidion Ikwere. My name is Edidion Ikwere. Osman, I work with.
It's great to see you here. So, Edidion, I mean, I know you, but I'm not sure everybody here knows you. So, I think you should complete your introduction. Hello, Edidion, can you hear me? Hello. Okay, next is somebody else pick the mic, please.
Hello, good evening, everyone.
Yeah, good evening.
My name is Emigare Esosa Gentle. I'm a core member serving in Arrow-Julad Hospital, facility officer.
Okay, great. Next, somebody else, please.
Sorry, I was muted. I said my name is Edidion Ikwere. I work with GPDCFN as a technical manager.
Yes, sorry, that lady now.
All right, go on. Next.
Good evening, everyone. Okay, please go ahead. I'll wait.
Good evening. Go on, Amira.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Amira Hassan. I managed a 21-floor building for 6 years, and I just recently transitioned into starting my own facility management company called Pro Utility. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Amira. Yes, Vim, go on, please.
Hello, good evening, everyone.
Please, Imagine, please hold on. Let
Okay.
Vim finish, and then you can take the mic. So, Vim,
all right.
Go on, please.
I work with Ekele Aulu and Associates as a facility supervisor and manage the tower of 11 floors that houses over 1,000 people here in Lagos.
Okay. Yes, Imagine, go on now.
Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Imaji Salifo. Yes, I manage a 1,000 unit estate in Abuja here. I work with Corazon Estates. I'm a facility manager.
Great. Thank you, Imagine. Yeah, someone else take the mic, please.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Caroline.
I have 18 years experience. 18 years experience in generator maintenance, install, repair, troubleshooting. I just recently joined Max-Migold facility management company.
Okay. Caroline, we wanted to know what you do for Max-Migold, but that's fine.
Okay. For Max-Migold as a building technician.
All right, great. Okay, thank you. So, next.
Yes, sir.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Tedewis, DAK. I work at Max-Migold Nigeria Limited as a senior facility maintenance technician.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. So who else is speaking the mic? Please go on.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening,
Good evening, everyone. My name is Akunle Muyiwa Samson. I'm maintenance engineer, Duchess International Hospital. Thank you.
Duchess.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
in GRA Ikeja, right?
Yes, exactly.
All right. Thank you, Muyiwa. So next, who else is speaking the mic? Okay, I think we'll stop there then and just move quickly. Yeah, so I believe you already know the rules. I mean, the house rules, because this is not your first class. So let's try to follow the rules. Like I already mentioned, I want the class to be very interactive. So feel free to ask your question at any point, right? So basically, the course is put into modules, and we're going to take the modules one after the other. I don't expect us to spend so long on this. Sorry, Mr. Emeka, can you mute your mic, please? Okay, so I don't expect us to spend so long. I want it to be as quick as possible, but also as interesting and interactive as possible, right? So these are the modules that we're going to look at, and like I said, we'll take them just one after the other, right? So let's look at the first module. When we talk about business case, really, right? What are we really looking at? What exactly is business case? And then you would even go for that to wonder, I'm a facility manager, because most people still look at facility management as technical, as engineering, and then they start to ask that question, what is my business with business case or business? Why am I even bothered with that, right? Facility management is not really in that era anymore. It has moved from being seen as just technical to looking at the strategic part of facility management, and that involves coming up with value, being able to convince senior management on what that is and what the benefit is to the organization. So when we talk about business case, right, basically a report. Business case is a report that you prepare and you present to your maybe your board, your senior management, your supervisor, or whoever you report to. Now, what that report focuses on is a problem and then the solution. Now, as facility managers, I believe we all understand, or we already know that what we do is to try to solve problem on a daily basis, right? You wake up in the morning, resume at your workplace, and probably the first thing you do is to have a meeting with your team. And when you do that, what you're discussing might just be a wrap-up of what was done yesterday. And when you do a wrap-up of what was done yesterday, you're looking at what were the issues yesterday, right? What were the documented issues yesterday? Were these issues resolved? What were the identified issues yesterday? What were the planned maintenance for yesterday? Were they executed? Were they carried out? Right? You're looking at all of those things that have happened the previous day. In the same vein, you are also looking at what are we going to be doing today? So what are those problems that were identified yesterday that we couldn't close out yesterday, that have now moved from yesterday to today? What are those issues that we have even identified early this morning? What are those maintenance activities that were scheduled for today or scheduled for yesterday but were deferred to today, right? You're just basically asking all of these questions, discussing this with your team. I mean, I assume that that's a typical day for you as a facility manager in a site, right? So while you are looking at all of this, sometimes you get to a point where it looks like a blockage. It looks like you cannot move beyond that point because it has gotten, the solution required has gotten beyond the regular routine activities that you have to do. I'll give you an instance. Typically, you have a generator at your site. Let's assume that you're a facility manager in a high-rise building. I think one of the participants here mentioned that she has managed a high-rise building before, that she currently manages a high-rise building, right? And part of what you do, maybe this high-rise building is a residential building. And part of what you do, which we all know, is to ensure that you have 24 hours power supply, depending on the priorities of the estate. I mean, today, considering the high inflation rate and cost of living, even the high bro or high or premium or whatever you choose to call them estates right now, they have schedule for when they will turn on the generator. But let's just say for assumption purpose that you provide 24 hours light, and now you have seen that the generator that you use, that you rely on as backup, is almost at a point where it becomes completely knocked out. So you are now looking, because you actually carry out what we call predictive maintenance in the property. So you have people that collect data on a daily basis on the generator, right? They record this, and you also have a back-end team that do analysis of this data, and they have followed up, and I've even seen that this generator is overaged, it's been used for a long time. Right now, it seems as if it's going to, completely knock down or knock out in no time. All of the data are pointing towards that direction. What is your solution? If you have just that, let's even assume that you have just that generator, right? So at this point, you have to buy a new generator. We know that buying a new generator is capital intensive. It's a huge investment, especially now. And depending on the size of the property, that also would decide the size of the generator. So you've done your load analysis, you've profiled, everything you've done them perfectly well. You know the size of generator that is required. Might be the same size or might just be, a slightly lower or higher size. And you've also seen the need. Of course, you know that having just one generator is not good for a property that you want to ensure there's 24 hours power supply without interruption. So you've also seen that it is an opportunity for you to not just replace the main generator, right? It's also an opportunity for you to ask for a backup generator. So meaning that at that point, you would have 2 generators at the site or at the property. This is a capital intensive project. What are you going to do? As facility managers, you won't buy it. Of course, it's not your responsibility to pay for it. One, it's also, I mean, the only thing that concerns you is to make sure that, one, they buy generator, 2, they buy the right size of generator, 3, they buy the right quality of generator, right? 4, that the generator is properly installed and is serving the purpose for which it is purchased. So you have to be able to convince these people to buy 2 generators, not just 1 in this case anymore. You've been there for so long, and that generator has been there. Yet they have refused to buy another generator. Maybe because you have not done what I would be asking you to do right now. But in this case, it has gotten to a dead end where you don't have a choice. You have to do it. And you have to be able to show them why they have to buy another generator. So at that point, what do you then do? That is where your business case comes in. You will not go ahead to prepare a business case report for that particular issue, providing the solution and what it will cost to get that solution implemented. Now, we'll talk about this I just gave an illustration of this for a residential estate. You can still take the same illustration that I've given you for a corporate building, where it is even more vital for them to, deal with getting a new generator. I think for a corporate building, it's much easier for you to convince compared to a residential estate where they have, the schools who you would have to have that conversation with. But what is important, what this class really talks about, is the need for you to understand that in some cases, in some issues, it goes beyond just the routine that you've planned. Especially for capital expenditure, it requires a business case that you have to prepare, submit to the people that would make a decision, and in some cases, come back to make a presentation to these people for them to be convinced and then approve the implementation of whatever solution that you are proposing. So a business case is a written report that showcases or highlights the problem that you are trying to solve. It also provides the solution to that problem. And it goes further to provide the cost implication of that solution. More importantly, you would also need to highlight the justification why it is important for these people to expend that amount of money to be able to, solve that problem. Because, hello, Mr. Innocent, please, if you have a question, just raise your hand. I would unmute you and then you can ask your question. So you have to be able to justify why they should spend that money to implement the solution that you're proposing. In every problem, there are multiples of solution. There are multiples of solution. The question really is, which solution is appropriate for that problem? Which solution best solves that problem? Which solution efficiently solves that problem? Which solution effectively solves that problem? These are the questions that you always have to ask yourself before you pick a solution option that you present to whoever needs to approve it. But what should be the content of, a business case? What would you typically find in a business case? Or when I say business case, I'm basically talking about the written report. So what should be the content? What are you supposed to say there, right? So from the slide, you would see, it's categorized. I mean, it's segmented into 3 categories. You can have the executive summary, you can have the solution analysis, you can have the conclusion and next steps. It doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be in this order, right? What is important is that however you choose to present it, it is very important that you have your executive summary at the very first page, or at the very first point where they have to read about your report. Now, I'd like to ask a question. I'm going to ask, and I want just anybody to signify to respond to that question. Why do you think that the executive summary should be on the first page, or rather the executive summary should be the first thing that whoever is reading that report gets to read? Can anybody respond to that, please? Yes, go on, Mr. Innocent.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
The society we are in now has really evolved in the sense that most stakeholders don't spend time, looking at, paragraph upon paragraph of a business case. At least the first 3 pages of any business case should be able to capture what they are looking out for. So it is expected that the first 3 pages of your business case should be able to contain all the vital information that is required of that business. That is my own contribution.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Innocent. Does anybody want to add to that? All right, fine. So thank you once again, Mr. Innocent. Okay, go on, Mr. Alvaro.
Okay.
Hello, go on, please. Yeah, go on, Alvaro.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Once
good
again.
evening. Yes, good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening. Go on. Your network is a bit shaky, but just try to speak out. Let's see what we can pick from.
So the business case have a view of what you are trying to tell them to do within let's say a minute of studying, getting your report. Within 60 seconds, they should be able to know what you're asking them to do and why. And that will motivate them to either continue with your report or maybe even trash it. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Barrow. So the thing is, okay, go on, Mr. Lewis. Yes, go on, please. Hello, Lewis, please go on. Okay. I don't know, maybe network or he cannot hear me. So, like I was saying, right? Most time when you prepare reports, whether business case report or any kind of report, somebody has to read that report. You're preparing that report for someone else to review and maybe make a decision, right? And that person might just be an executive. And even if, he or she is not an executive, he definitely have a lot of other things to do. So you look at that. This is the reason why, most time when you prepare document, there's always that need for you to have an executive summary. What that basically does is just to provide a summary of everything that you have in the report. a summary. It provides the key points that anybody can look at. You know, you get a sense of what is in the report, and that then pushes you to want to read the report. But beyond trying to read the report, it's just a recap. It gives you an overview of what the entire report is all about. Even in the academic world, right, where you would have to prepare your thesis or your project, or whatever it is that is being called, depending on the program you're doing or where you're doing your program, right? You still have to come up with an abstract, right, that you put in your project report. And that abstract is what most people really look at. They don't have the time to start to go through 60, 80, 100 pages of documents, before they can have a conversation with you, right? That abstract gives them a good understanding of what the report is about, and in project report, you would basically just summarize, especially chapter 1, which talks about what the problem is, what it also gives a background to that problem, and then what the problem is. It asks certain questions that your research is trying to answer. So that gives a recap. And even in that same abstract, you would just have a brief of every chapter of that project report. So it is the same thing even in the business world. And that's why for a business case report, you have to put, the first thing you even put there is your executive summary. And it's even called executive summary because you expect executives that you would give that report to read that part. They don't have time. Those guys don't, especially, the board. If you look at the board of directors or even the MD, they don't really have time to start looking at so much details. When you report directly to MD, ironically, when you report directly to the MD, and sometimes you send some documents and, they just don't want to spend so much time looking at it. They want to see a summary. You start to wonder why. There are so many things there that I want you to see. But, fortunately or unfortunately, when you get to that level, it is automatically what you do. It's not something they do intentionally. It's because they have so much to do, so much of brain work to do that they don't have time to even start reading tons of pages of documents. So that's why you have your executive summary, right? And what your executive summary does in your business case report is just basically, to talk about the business need. The problem, what is the problem that you're talking about? A summary of it. It also talks about the solution that you have recommended, right? And then summary of results. Now, if you execute or if you implement this solution, what are the results? What will come out of it? Now, in subsequent slides, we'll talk about how, the approaches that you should put this information together, that it really makes sense and hit hard on whoever is reading it, that it will be difficult for them to refuse or disapprove whatever you want to do. Now, beyond the executive summary, you have the solution analysis, which is where you really talk about, the solution. This is where you really drive down on the solution. You can even have a section that really talks about the problem. Sometimes you want to give a sort of a historical background of that problem, how long it's been there, and you can even talk about what that problem has done to the business or to the property or whatever it is in terms of finance, in terms of figure, in terms of money, right? I'm sure when we move forward, I'll be able to drive that point on how best you put, all of these things, because there's one language that these people hear. And if you don't speak that language, you will only be wasting your time and nobody will get your recommendations approved, right? So you talk about the solutions, and when you're talking about the solutions, you look at the business drivers, you look at the cost, you look at the benefits, you look at the risk, because beyond the benefits, there's usually risk. How are you going to manage those risks? So these are the elements of, or the components of, a business case report. And you have to be able to ensure that when you put this report together, that it follows a good order, that it is interesting, for people to read or for people to look at. Now, when do you really need a business case? I think I already talked about that. When it has gotten beyond where your normal routine and your your daily activities cannot really deal with it. You don't expect your daily activities to replace a generator when there is need for it to be replaced. And that's just a generator example. There are so many. If you have a serious crack on the wall, that is a structural issue. I don't expect you to go and be looking for cosmetic fix. You have to look at exactly what is the structural problem and what is the solution to the problem. And then you build your case. You come up with a report and you give to your, the people that would need to approve it. You give them to look at it, and then they make a decision. So it is when, it's a high-profile issue, when the risk is great. Look at the example I just gave of a structural issue. If you don't address it, the building could collapse. I'm sure we don't want that, because you look at what the reputational damage that does to businesses today when you have building collapse, maybe somewhere in Lagos Island or wherever it is. You look at the fire that happened, damage it has done to not just AfriLand, but the group as a whole. AfriLand, UBA, Hess Holding, all of the businesses that are within that group. Nobody wants that. And I'm sure that if the manager or whoever is there had built a business case highlighting all of these issues that could happen, it would have been easy for that manager to make a case to the senior management for a solution to have been provided that would have prevented whatever caused that fire. That fire is a long story. I don't think if we go into that, to start to look at the ingredients of that incident, we will not finish this. So for us to move quickly, I just had to, come up with a real life example on how, having a business case report, submitting and convincing for approval, how it solves problem that sometimes you do not even know, because you've been able to do it very well. You yourself can imagine, and see the disasters that have been averted. Others may not see it, but when you have an understanding of how these things go, definitely you know what you have done, the problem that you have solved, or the disaster that you've been able to eliminate. Now, when business money or resources are needed that may cross a certain threshold, right? Example of the generator. It's a lot of money that has crossed certain amount. In corporate world, in businesses today,
Is anybody there? There's no sound on my end.
I think we lost him. Maybe he has issues with his network.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, everyone. Let's hold on for him to join back. I think his network kicked him out.
Hello, please, can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, sir. Welcome back.
I am very
We can hear you,
sorry.
sir. We can hear you, sir.
Yes, I'm very sorry. My internet just went off, and all of a sudden I realized that I was just talking to myself. I'm really sorry about that. So let me quickly reshare my screen, please.
Okay.
Okay, so can you see my slide now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so yeah, so like I was saying that certain cases makes the requirement for a business case to come up. I mentioned a few, and I think the last one I was just talking about was when the money gets to a certain threshold. At that point, you would have to get a business case report submitted and presented as well, convincing to get approval for that to be done. Now, what is the process for a business case to approve? Now, we already established the fact that certain situation requires you to come up with a business case. Now, when you've done that, what exactly is that process, or what exactly is the entire cycle of a business case from the point of getting it started to the point of getting approval or denial? Now, you look at the screen, you would see, at the very beginning where you prepare, right? You prepare and then you develop your business case. I usually always say that this is the most important part of it. This is where you either get approval or not get approval. If you don't get this preparation right, trust me, you definitely will not get any approval. And how do you get it right? The secret I always like to give everybody is this. Now, when it comes to spending money, what people or what business leaders or what senior managers are really looking at, especially those people at the top, is how that money, what is the return of that money? What is the value? What is the monetary value that it is going to bring? So you want us to buy a generator for 200 million. How is this going to impact our top line? How is this going to impact our bottom line? Because most time when people are doing this report, they tend to focus too much on qualitative description and stories. Yes, that is good. I mean, qualitative story or description helps you understand quantitative analysis even better. But you have to be able to focus on the quantitative part of it. How is that going to translate to money back to the business? That is the major thing. This is where the secret lies. And that is the only thing that I am going to tell you in this class today. That when you go back and you have to make a case to whoever you need to make a case to, the only way you will get approval is to be able to tell them how that benefits the business financially. Now, if you would do that, how do you do that? You have to be able to translate anything that would happen to how it either increase or decrease money that comes to the business. Let's look at the issue of generator, right? If the estate shuts down, I'll talk about the estate, I'll talk about the corporate building, and I will look at a few other examples. Now, if the estate shuts down, there is no light, what is going to happen? Now, some people would leave that estate that day and go to hotel. They will go and pay for accommodation in a hotel. Some would leave their house and go to friends' place to stay, depending on the kind of people they are. But trust me, some would leave and go and stay in a hotel. I remember one of the properties that we manage. We just took over the property that it's a very high premium property. It's in Banana Island. And, you know, we were just, in fact, we've not even onboarded when the tenant moved in. We were forced to provide some level of services prior to the official start date. And, you know, because things were skeletal, it wasn't even officially handed over. They couldn't have access to certain things. So one night, so the second night, they left the estate and went to book a hotel in a 5-star hotel. So, I mean, you can imagine, you know, how much they would have spent in that case. It's the same thing for when that estate shuts down. Let's go to a corporate building. If it shuts down, there's no power, there's no grid supply, there's no backup generator to provide light, what is going to happen? Of course, we know today that to be comfortable in the workplace now, or to even be able to work in a workplace right now, you need power because everything relies on internet. There are tools, softwares, even your computer that you have to work with, it needs power. Even if you have battery on your laptop, the internet might not have light. I mean, the internet routers might not have light. Even if you have a backup power, how long is it going to stay? Maybe an inverter or something. Now, if it shuts down for that day, everybody would go home. You can imagine a building with a staff of over 500. Everybody go home. We know that remote work right now is still not the strongest in this country. We are just being able to put structures in place to be able to manage and, you know, hold remote working together. Thank God we're getting it right now. But beyond that, for that particular day, even if they go home, they might not even do anything that day, maybe the next day. What has happened? You have a staff of maybe 500, and they've lost a man hour of 8 hours. If you multiply 8 hours by 500, check what is that going to be. And then you take the salary of each of those employees. You can even decide to look for the mean of the salary of everybody. And you use that to compute what the losses are in terms of man hour.
if you have that system for multiple days, do you know how much it transfers? Now, this is even indirect cost in terms of your staffing alone. There is also the issue of the services that you provide, how that will affect it. The income or revenue that could have come in, how that will affect it. So my focus really is that you have to be able to assess this and quantify this and come up with figures and be able to put it to money, cash, fund, money that people can relate to. The moment you do that, when you're speaking to these guys, you're telling them in 1 day, we would have lost so amount. In 2 days, this is what it will get to. In 10 days, this is the amount. Look, they will be the one asking you, how much are we supposed to spend to do this? Because you've been able to, what you've done is sort of a simulation. You've done a simulation letting them know that, look, this is what it is at every point. Each day, this is what it gets to. If you go to even the example that I gave of a structural issue, if the building collapses, do you know what's going to happen? The business will first of all be shut down for some time. The building is not going to, I mean, which building are you going to even work? The staff wouldn't be able to work from home because at that point they're devastated. Top management are dealing with crisis. They are trying to manage crisis. So nobody is thinking about service. Nobody's thinking about product. Nobody's thinking about revenue. You have to be able to quantify each and every one of these variables, come up with a cost and give it to them. If you do that, trust me, nobody is going to tell you no. You see that amount that you are asking for, it automatically becomes small money in their eye because you have done the right thing. So preparation is key. That's where the success is if you prepare well. Trust me, you get your approval. What other things can you do? You know, when we talk about issues, incidents occurring, there's always risk assessment. You've had your HSC class, your safety class. I'm sure they would have taught you risk assessment, how to analyze risk, how to quantify risk. You would have heard of what they call the risk matrix. Risk is a reflection of risk is a reflection of severity and the probability of that thing happening. And when you look at your risk matrix, right, you will see that they put different rating, right? For severity, they will put the description. They've sort of put description for 5, what it means, how much it can translate to, for 4, what it means and how much it can translate to, for 3, for 2, for 1. The same thing for probability of it happening. They tell you for 5, this is the probability of it happening. And what they look at in that sense is they tend to look at, has it happened before? If it has happened before, where? Abroad or here? We believe we have this very traditional way of thinking that if it happened obodo, if it not happen here, let's assume so. Now, you take it further. Has it happened here before? It's all there. You can use your risk rating to do all of this. You use your probability level to put it in different categories like this. And you would even be able to tell them, this thing that I'm talking about, it is not like it's something that we've not heard before. It has happened before. Afriland Tower got burnt just because of batteries that were kept at the basement. I mean, if you have an issue that has to do, that stands around that, it's a typical example for you to drive down your risk level or your probability of it happening. So you just need to be able to do your research because research is critical. You have to be able to look, has it happened before? If it happens, what is the severity? How does it affect the business? You cannot even if you start to quantify impact on reputation, it's not like you cannot. If you are able to do that, it can be done. Trust me, it is easy to be done, but you have to be able to do it. And when you do that, they look at all of these things, even at the board level, at the very board level, at the top level. they will quickly approve for it to be executed. So once you have done your preparation well, you submit your business case. Next is that, right, you review. You now review your files, because they will call you to come and talk about it, convince them. So you look at all your files, documents, you have the proof. Sometimes what you're presenting might require you to even bring an expert to talk about it. Don't be shy. I mean, if you are not an expert in that area, maybe a deeper technical person in that area, there's nothing wrong with bringing an expert in that area to talk about it. Just don't let the person take the shine, right? Don't let them take your shine. You have to be able to ensure that you are still in charge. That's how I like to put it, because sometimes some people come and they take the shine, all the work that you've done, it now look as if you are just follow come. So you have to be able to know because when you know what you are doing, it's easy for you to hold it together. So good research, review all your files, look at everything, present your supporting info, make sure you have it with you. If they are being requested, send it ahead. Send it ahead. Now, at that point of they would have called you to come and do a presentation, after which a decision is made. When you are doing your presentation, all of those support files that you have, you also get to have the opportunity to show them. It's also an opportunity for you to give to them to look at, right? You can send it ahead, you can send it in the meeting, you can send it later. It just depends on the flow. And then a decision is made. When a decision is made, it's either one of two, right? Whether they approve or they don't approve. If it's an issue that you are certain that it can cause serious problem, it can cause problems that can be catastrophic, I would advise you to go back, relook at it, repackage it, and represent it again. If you cannot, resign, so that you don't come and have a problem and it becomes your headache. You remember when a lift fell in one of those medical buildings? You saw the reputational damage it did to the facility management company that was there. In fact, they are lucky they are not one of the reputable FM companies in Nigeria. They are very silent people, so we really don't know them. So it was easy for it not to have trend. If it was one of the top FM companies, you can imagine what it could have done to those companies. And it's also possible that those people have made a case for that lift to be replaced, or for a thorough refurbishment, a thorough work to be done on that lift. But they ignored. So you just keep presenting. If you don't get the right approval, you can exit. Rather than come and take, issues that you don't need. So it is very important that you are able to prepare well. The major thing is the preparation. You have to be able to prepare, and prepare well. So it's very important. I mean, what we're done with the first module now. For subsequent modules, we're going to move very quickly. But I want you to take something here, that preparation is key, and you have to prepare very well and very, very well. Now, let's look at building your case. The problem, solution, cost, benefit. That's when we talk about the component or the elements of that case, of the business case, right? I just talked about preparing. Let's look at it here. You have to, be able to identify the problem, the solution, the cost, and the benefits. Now, what is a business problem? There are different issues, right? I gave some examples, and I think those examples hit very well. I gave those examples because of what we do. We're facility managers. We manage facilities, and those things that I talked about are things that we come across on a daily basis, but they're beyond that, right? They're beyond that. And sometimes those issues could be a change in the state of that particular item, facility or component or whatever it is. Now, you look at the issue of the case of generator. The state of it has changed, right? Now, you also look at how does it impact the business, the environment, the change of that facility. How does it impact the business? How does it impact the facility, right? Sometimes the problem could also even be around people. It could be around process. It could also be around technology. Sometimes you have a process within your business, within where you work. a process is tedious. I mean, it's reducing the satisfaction that gets to the client. It's reducing the experience, that your clients have. It's a problem. So you want to come up with a solution to that. It could be that because of the manual process, there are issues around, and now you want to bring sort of a software to solve that problem and reduce the time or the period or whatever it takes for that process to be complete. So these problems are, they're centered around different things. Like I said, it could be process, it could be around process within your workplace, it could be around facility, it could be around people, right? Sometimes some people at the workplace are a problem. I'm sure most of us will agree. Sometimes we feel like our supervisors are a serious problem. But, in some cases, it's actually not true. Sometimes you are even the problem, but you don't know. You don't want to sit down and really evaluate yourself, or you don't want to sit down and ask people what they think about you. But in the real sense of it, sometimes people are a problem that is impacting the entire business and even reducing revenue, reducing, morale, reducing motivation, just making things difficult for the business. And sometimes there are difficult people that you cannot take out. Sometimes you have one-man business where even the one man is the problem of the business. I'm sure you would agree, right? So problems are just around, different things, but there are ways that you look at the problem. What is the issue? What is the future state, right? What is the current state? What was the previous state? You just move around all of these questions. It helps you understand the problem better. It is, when I talked about preparation, it's really about understanding the problem, understanding the solutions that are available, understanding the best solution, understanding the impact in terms of money. So it is very important that we are able to understand the problem. Now, you also look at the solution. Now, solutions are not just, one way. I mentioned before that for every problem, there are multiple solutions to it. There are multiple ways to solve one problem. You now have to be able to assess those solutions and look at the best option, what best solves the problem. In the case of a generator, you can either buy or you continue to fix the generator, or you can even decide to go and lease. What you need to do is to assess which one is more efficient, which one is more effective. Today, it's no longer just about effectiveness. We are now looking at efficiency. Why the solution solves the problem? Does it solve the problem at the least cost possible? Right? So you look at all of that. So you have to be able to open your eye, open your mind to assess all of these things. Even the example we gave about the building in terms of structural issue. Solutions are enormous. You can choose to scatter the building and build another one. So, which will cost you a lot. You can choose to also go and rent another building while you are fixing that building. You can choose to sell the building, buy another building. So the solutions are many. You can even choose to repair it, right? There are different ways to fix structural issues. So it's really about looking at all of the solutions. And when you are doing your report, put multiple solutions and then hinge on one. What you feel is the best solution. Highlight why it is the best solution for that problem. So it gives these people a sense of you have done your work thoroughly and you have also provided what you feel is the best solution to the problem, right? So when you look at solution, of course, what you always look at is efficiency, cost, effectiveness of the solution, and how the cost that what you're spending to do that is also the most efficient cost available, right? So it is very important that you look critically at those things. Another thing is you have to be able to also measure the success that comes from that solution. It's not just about having a report, doing your analysis, understanding the problem, understanding the solution, providing options of solution, giving the best solution, and telling them this is what it will cost. How will they track the success of your implementation? So you see, this is one way to even tell them that you know what you are doing. You're already telling them, after you have told them what they will lose, how much they will lose in 1 day, in 2 days, in 5 days, you are now telling them, if you agree to implement, within the first 5 days, we would have done this. It would have averted us losing so amount. Within 10 days, we would have done this. We would have been gaining so amount. We would have returned to our usual daily revenue. That also gives us the peace of mind to plan, strategize, and increase our revenue. So you have to be able to always put money around all of these things. And that's the message I always try to preach in this class, because trust me, once you get to the executive level, whether senior management level or whether the MD or whether the board, they don't think the way others in the middle management and lower management think. They don't look at the problem. They only want to hear solution and what is the money the solution will bring. So you have to think like them. If you want to convince them, you think like them, and it positions you for something bigger in the future, right? So it is very important that we keep this in mind. I'm very happy that even in this class, we have people that are already, they already have their companies that they are running. I mean, somebody mentioned that they've transitioned from managing facilities for people to starting and running their own FM company. I'm sure when you get to that point, your thinking changed completely. You don't usually think like, the way you would typically think when you were managing facility. You're looking at it beyond just ensuring that the building runs well. You are looking at value to the client, value to your business in terms of, monetary value, reputation have value. Those are the things that you are looking. So it changes your thinking. It's the same thing here. You have to be able to think like them to be able to convince them. I think there's an adage. I cannot remember the adage, but I think there's an adage like that anyway, where they say that to catch a rat or something, that you have to think like them. Otherwise, you won't be able to catch, because those guys are very fast. They move very quickly. So you have to be able to also think swiftly like them to be able to crush them. So it is very important that we have a mind shift so that we are able to, drive down these points and get people to approve what we want very quickly. Right? So measuring success is very important. You have to show them that, the successes that will come, this is how it will be, and this is how you know that the successes are coming. Because sometimes they don't. I think that's one of the dilemma we have in facility management. Sometimes you provide service, you are doing well, nobody can really measure your performance because you have not been able to sit down to come up with, what stand out, what comes as good performance and as poor performance. What are they supposed to see? Because facility management, people don't remember you. We facility managers, they don't remember us when there's no problem. If the facility is running smoothly, they completely forget you. They don't even think that, the place is okay because of the work you are doing. They think the place is okay because it is okay. The moment there's an issue, they say that there is an issue because you are not doing well. You don't know what you are doing. So you have to be able to measure your success. You have to be able to put, KPIs there that people will look at, that you can report on a daily basis or on a weekly basis or on a monthly basis, that shows the success that this solution that you have implemented is giving. And then you look at the slide, you would see areas that you can look at, ways that you can come up with those KPIs. You look at revenue in terms of revenue, how that solution has helped the business to either increase revenue or maintain revenue, because you don't want it to go down. You also look at expenses, how it has maybe reduced your expenses. You look at, markets. So you just have to be able to look at all of these things and move with it, right? So it is very important that your success from the implementation is being measured, and it has to be highlighted in your report. People should be able to see it. So your report should be foolproof with all of this information. Now let's look at promoting your case, because look, some people even want you to fail. When you are preparing your report, or when you are presenting your report, there will always be saboteurs. There will always be supporters. There will always, and the way you manage these things or these people, or this, when you look at supporters or saboteurs, it might not even be people. Sometimes, yes, most times it is people, but sometimes it might just be events. It might just be some things that you need to do that will either support or sabotage your efforts. So let's try to look at them very quickly, right? So what are those things that can support your case? You have to identify them. Now, from the very beginning, which is why I keep talking about preparation. Part of your preparation should also be to identify what can sabotage your effort and what can support your effort. If I'm you, I will draw a table. I'll draw a table. On the left side, I have my supporters. On the right side, I have my saboteurs, and list them out. Not just people, but even events or things that you can do that would support it. Things that if you don't do, will sabotage it, or people that would sabotage it. So just list all of them out. Now, why am I asking you to list them out? Having a visibility of it gives you, an overview and constant reminder these things are there for you to pay attention to. Sometimes you do what we call stakeholder analysis. It can help you. Who are the stakeholders around this particular problem that you want to solve? List them out. Which are the people that you are supposed to carry along? Identify them. Carry them along. Who are the people that you are supposed to update? Identify them. Update them regularly. So, see, the idea is just for you to be able to manage all of these variables very well, because they will either make your case or break your case. You cannot pay tiny attention to it. You cannot say, oh, it doesn't matter. Unless you don't value the effort and work that you've been doing. Unless you don't value, or you don't want to get this problem solved. And sometimes when you don't, it comes back to you. So it's very important that you identify all of these people and things, supporters, saboteurs, because when you do, it gives you visibility, like I already said, and it helps you plan on how to manage them. Now, what else again? What can make your case approved or rejected? We already talked about saboteurs and supporters. Of course, they have a role to play in getting approval or getting rejected. But there are also other things, which is why I said supporters and saboteurs are not just people. They could be things that you are supposed to do that you did not do, or things that you are not supposed to do that you did. And like I said, highlighting these things and having visibility helps you manage it. Now let's look at one of those things: poorly written report. Your report, the write-up is poor. Sometimes when they read the first two lines and they are cracking their head, it makes them want to even fling the report one side and move away. That is even just dead on arrival. Dead on arrival. Spelling, grammar, times have changed. look, the technology, Internet of Things have made things so easier for us. You write a report, you want it to look better. If you go to ChatGPT, it will do an excellent work for you. If you use Grammarly, it would correct the grammatical error, correct the spelling error, and everything comes out just perfect. So you have to learn to use these tools to get the best of what you want to submit. And then we also look at incomplete. Sometimes people are reading something and the flow is so good, they're getting more interested and they want to see what the solution is. And then all of a sudden, some things are left out. Maybe you didn't talk about how that impacts the figures. That is what they even want to see. And then they just get angry. How can this guy make so much effort to do this and the information is not complete? So it is important that you prepare well, because preparations give you all of this information that you need, right? And you would be able to deliver well. You also have to be able to align whatever you are doing to the business goal, to the organizational strategy goal. Because today, everything is about strategy. If you cannot align your tactical actions to the strategy, it doesn't get you anywhere. This tells us that as facility managers, we have to start thinking like business managers, not just how to manage generator or how to, yes, you start from there. Know those basics because it helps you when you are making decisions at the top. You have that understanding. It's easier for you to make those decisions. Even when you are having communication with your subordinates, when you speak the terms, they look at you and they say, this is my oga. Because you've taken the time to know these things. Right? So it is very important that you do that. Also know your audience. Who are the people that is going to approve it? Understand them. What is that thing that, what kind of person are they? Sometimes you work in an organization, you probably have not even seen one of the directors before. And maybe what you want to do is going to be approved at the directorship level. Take your time to research about them, know them, what do they do, what's their profession. If this person is an engineer and what you want to do is mostly technical, you would want to do more work to make sure that what you present is good, because he has that technical understanding to know the impact of whatever you are doing. So that when you are talking about risk, you are good. When you are talking about the financial returns, you are good. When you're talking about implementation, you are good. Whatever you talk about, you hit the nail on the head. And it sinks to them because they know exactly what it is. So know your audience. It also helps you with how to address them, the best way to talk to them, because you've taken the time to understand the kind of person that they are. Understand your solution very well. I've talked about this before. It is important that you know what the solution is. Understand it so that even when you are sleeping, you can talk about it. Look, what you don't know before, when you take the time, when you decide that you want to know it, maybe because you want to make a case, a presentation, if you take the time to really research it, you will be shocked how much you get to know within a short period of time. So let us develop the habit of research. Like I said, today, technology is everywhere. You can learn anything. You can learn anything from the comfort of your home. So don't be held back. Don't say, I am not an engineer. I get that a lot, and it gets me really upset. I get that a lot from some colleagues, from some junior people in the industry. They are held back. They don't want to get better. They don't want to learn. They assume that, oh, that part of FM is engineering. I'm not an engineer. It does not concern me. How are you going to deliver if you don't know it? So it is good and important that we, take time to prepare, because preparation helps us with everything that I've talked about. So now let's look at presentation, right? Because when you submit your report. Nobody has really raised their hand to ask question, but I want to ask, is there any question? Does anybody have any question to ask? Or is it that what I've been talking about is very clear that you don't have questions to ask? Please, I'd like for somebody to respond, please. Hello? Yes, go on, Mr. Lewis.
Thank you so much, sir. The class itself is really enjoyable. My question is this: what do we do to prevent our reports from being more persuasive? Because I feel when it is more persuasive, there may be some elements of stakeholders looking at it as if you have a personal intention. So what do we do to make our reports not swayed, going towards that direction of being more persuasive?
Yeah, I get your question. I get your question. You know, sometimes when we do certain things, people tend to think that, okay, maybe we have interest in this, or maybe we, and most time when we talk about interest, it's really about money, right? You agree with me, Mr. Lewis, right?
Yeah, I'm with you, sir.
Yeah, it's about money. So they feel that, okay, we have monetary value to gain from it. Now, how do you manage that? It's really very simple. First of all, you have to cultivate that mindset of not thinking that they will be thinking that you want to make money. Because the moment you start to think about that, it tends to hold you back on really putting all of the effort to convincing them. That's one. Number two is that whatever you are doing has to be very straightforward and transparent. For instance, when you talk about this is what it is going to cost, in your report, you can also go ahead to talk about the process of implementation. Process of implementation. I'm sure that the company or the organization will probably already have their process. Now, what you're doing is to align how it will be implemented to the process, to the internal process, meaning that you are not the one that is choosing vendor. They probably have a procurement process for vendor selection. You are not the one that is going to negotiate with vendor. They probably have a process of negotiating with vendor. You are not even the one that will invite vendor. They probably have a process of inviting vendor. So once you are able to align all of this process, it becomes very clear that, look, as much as you are driving this passionately, it is not because you have naira to the benefit. It is because you want to see real change and impact. So you have to make sure that the process is clear, is transparent, and it aligns with the laid down procedure of the business. Does that answer your question, sir?
Yes, sir. I'm okay, sir.
Thank you. Any other question? Should I proceed? All right, then. So let's quickly look at module 4, which is effective presentation. Now, we've talked about problems, solutions, preferred solutions, saboteurs, this, that. We've even gone ahead to look at preparations, and I've emphasized on it over and over that you have to prepare well. I even laid all of the emphasis on ensuring that you can quantify the impact of the problem financially and the impact of the solution financially in a positive way, right? So now you might be asked to come and make a presentation. In most cases, you do that. You come and make a presentation on this, right? Like for my madam there that currently runs an FM company. I'm sure why you try to get new jobs, most time you would be invited to come and make a case, meaning that you have to come in and convince, if it's a residential estate, you have to convince the ESCOs, the executives that are representing the resident association on why they should give you the job. If it's a corporate client, you also have to come and convince either the procurement team or the procurement and operations team or whoever is on the other side that you are capable of doing the job and that this is how you intend to execute the job. It is almost the same thing in this case, because even in that, what you're doing is that you've assessed the place, you've identified the problems that you have, you've also identified the services that they need to ensure that the building is safe and comfortable for, their workers to work or for the residents to live comfortably, right? So you want to now, you've also gone ahead to provide a cost of executing that solution and services that you have presented to them. Just the same thing in this case. You've done all of that. You've submitted to your senior management, and they've said, come and convince us, right? So, and it's a live session where you talk about the problem, talk about the solution, talk about the cost of the solution, all of those things that I've talked about. But you also have to be able to say this within a specific period of time so that you don't end up talking too much and talking about things that are not relevant at some point, right? So effective presentation is also very important. It's also one of those drivers to success to get approval. So when we talk about saboteurs and supporters, there are elements within this module or within presenting your case that can be a saboteur or a supporter. But let's look at it, right? Now, people tend to believe that great speakers are born speakers, right? They are born like that. For people that speak, they would always tell you that what's this guy's name? Fela Durotoye today would still tell you that when I have a public speaking, I'm still nervous, right? I still have that feeling that I'm going to be talking in the next few minutes. So it tells you that it's not like they were born with it. It's something that they've come to master over time, right? So great speakers are not born speakers. They're trained. You can train yourself to be a good speaker. And I usually always say that as facility managers, we have a business leader potential. You have the potential to lead a huge business, right? Because the elements within that field, it revolves around a lot of things. It looks at business, it looks at technical, it looks at people management, it looks at anything that you can think about. So as facility managers, we should also learn to be public speakers. Train yourself to be able to talk, because presentation involves public speaking, and you have to be able to do it, to be able to convince people why doing that, right? Now, you have to plan your presentation. Planning is very important, Also, your presentation needs to have a sequence, and that revolves around your slide, your presentation slide. You have to arrange it such that it goes in a sequence. That sequence helps your flow, because you have your talking point there, and it just guides you all through the flow and help you get from the beginning to the middle to the end. And it syncs well because the flow, you carry people along with you. You're starting maybe with an intro, you've moved to a quick summary, you've looked at what the problem is in details, you've gone ahead to look at the solution or solutions and what your preferred solution is. You've also briefly talked about what the cost is, so it has to go, in a sequence. And the slide also needs to be very appealing. The visual aid needs to go where it needs to come in where. So it's also very important that you know how to put a presentation together and let it be appealing. I always like to say that it has to be appealing with the visuals, with the color, with the wordings. Everything just has to be appealing. It's good that you also pick color, that is appealing, even though sometimes the color has to align with the business. I mean, if you work in a place and they have a color, and you are doing a presentation, it still needs to flow with that. But of course, if you use the color of the business, the people you're presenting to is their color. It's already appealing to them. And if you put it together, it goes a long way to help your presentation. And you have to organize your presentation. How do you organize your presentation? I talk about sequence, right? So the pattern has to be very good. Like I mentioned, beginning, middle, end. But there are different ways that this can go. It could be topical, like we said, the problem, the solution, the cost, right? The benefit of the cost, and what your KPI is, how you intend to track the progress and benefit that comes from it. It has to be just all of that. It could also be chronological. It could be problem solution, like I already said. Of course, cause effect, just depending on what you are presenting. It's very important that you get those really, really right. And then you look at the outline, right? Keywords. Make sure that your slide have keywords. You have your talking points. I like to call it talking points. You have your talking point clearly stated in your slide. It hits you and reminds you of what you need to talk about, and it goes with the flow from one to the other. It takes you from this to the next, this to the next. It just guides you through everything that you need to talk about. It's there on the screen, you're seeing it. So it's not like you are not allowed to see it. They are there for you to see. So it guides you and usher you from one point to the other to the end, right? So you have to also be flexible, right? And be more responsive to the audience so that it doesn't seem like you are just the one talking. You find a way to carry the audience along, and when they want to also talk to you, you respond accordingly, right? So let's look at what your slide should look like. Yeah, your presentation outline, as well as your presentation in itself, the activity of presenting, how it should look like and the approach that you should take. So we will just go through how you should do your presentation generally from the beginning, how you would start, how you should move, and how you should round up. So try to pick as much point as you can. I believe the slide, you already have it. There's also nothing wrong with taking quick notes to take one or two things, right? You start with building rapport. This is what gets you really comfortable. And this is what also gets your audience to flow with you. This is where you try to put them at ease and let them sync with you. So this is really the first thing that you do. You try to build rapport. And how can you build rapport? There are different ways that you can do that. This also helps you build trust. It's sort of you just syncing with your audience, mixing with your audience, and vibing with them, right? So how do you do that? You start before you begin. How do you really start before you begin? You can throw in a joke. Sometimes when you want to make a presentation, definitely a lot of things are around the environment. And if you are spontaneous, you can actually quickly pick one or two things to set the tone and put everybody at ease for them to actually flow with you. So it's really about you being aware of the environment, sort of finding a way to hold the environment and using that to get the people along with you. So it's very important that you make a good first impression. Now, if you build rapport, it helps you make a first impression. But of course, how you come in alone can start to make an impression, right? Some people come in scared. Some people come in feeling absolutely in control. Some people come in, it's just really about you. But what is important is that you have to come with the fact that you know what you are doing and that you are there for them to listen to you. So that mindset helps you build that confidence you take to the stage or you take to the front of the audience that helps you marshal in and move very quickly. Again, like I said, that rapport is very important, and you can start by throwing in a quick joke or even highlighting a quick story. People relate to story very well, and when you do that, ensure that it's something that people can relate to, right? But don't also forget, when you also have to understand your audience so that you don't throw in a joke that is annoying. So, but again, like I said, it's just about understanding the people that you want to talk to, which is why I say, who are you going to talk to? I mentioned before that you have to find out who they are, what interests them, what kind of people are they, because that helps you, take control of the audience, right? So opening your presentation, introduce yourself, right? And when you introduce yourself, don't just introduce yourself because you want to introduce yourself. Introduce yourself because you want them to know that you know what you are about to talk about and that they should listen to you. So your introduction should, emphasize the need for them to listen to you. And there are different ways that you can build this around, right? So in your introduction also, it's good that you get their attention, right? It's very important that you get their attention. What are those ways that you can get their attention? Throwing in humor. I mentioned, cracking a joke before, but also I mentioned understand the audience so that you know the kind of joke to crack, so you don't sound stupid. I'm sorry that I have to use that word. So short stories, they help you sync with the crowd, especially when they can relate to the crowd, when they can relate to the story, I beg your pardon. So sometimes you say things that will make the audience think, like sort of asking a question that would stimulate their thinking and bring their attention closer to you, right? So it's just different ways. There's so many, you have in the slide, if you go online and check, there's so many that can guide you and help you bring your audience closer to you. But what is important is that you have to build rapport and introduce yourself very well. And then completing the opening, you clearly define topic, right? Show clear parameter in terms of what you'll be talking about. You can go to talk about, just briefly looking at jumping from, what your content are, what the topics that you'll be talking about are, letting them know how long this could take and that in no time you should be done. But emphasis is on bringing them along with you. So anything that would distract them or remove their attention from you or from what you're saying, try to avoid that, right? You present the main points, right? You give examples, ask for feedback, ask for questions, answer questions as well, right? So be very open to answering questions, right? Sometimes you want it to be very interactive, but I'm sure when you're making a business case presentation, you can't do that. But in some presentation, you can actually, have somebody else within the crowd answer the question. It also helps build interaction within everybody. But when you're making a business case presentation, you're talking to executive, you can't be telling another executive to come and answer question. That's totally out of it. But idea is that understand what you're doing, understand what you're talking about, and know when or which strategy to apply at any point in time. Right. So concluding your presentation, at the end of the day, summarize what you've already talked about, sort of a summary as the last point. And then at the end of the day, you must always, close with a call to action, right? And in the business case presentation, of course, your call to action should be very catchy. You should hit the nail on the head. And I always like to say that your call to action should talk about money. It's basically you just telling them that you have to approve implementation of this solution to avoid losing so billions of dollars or billions of naira. It hits hard. It reminds them of everything that you've talked about. And I'm sure when you are done, the first question they would ask you would be about money. How much do we need? Or how much did you say we need? to solve this, to implement this problem? Or how soon can we get started? If we approve today, how long is this going to take? But I mean, when we talk about how long, your report should have even include all of that, so that it shows that you've done your work very well. Now, what makes an effective speaker? Control of information. And how do you have control of information? Preparation. Preparing very well from the very beginning. The voice use is also very critical. You don't go to make a presentation and you're fidgeting, or your voice is low as if you have cold, or as if there's something that they put in your throat. Your voice has to be commanding. Not commanding people per se, but commanding what you're saying, right? You have to use the right word, the right body language, so that you don't go, you're presenting something and it seems as if code is catching you and you're hiding behind something. So your body language is also very important. Prompt, script, note, all these things have to be well packaged together so that whatever you're saying, you're hitting the nail on the head, right? The right angle is also very critical, right? Sometimes people don't pay attention. People don't know that these things are important, that the angle at which you talk, I mean, if you stay at one point from morning from the beginning to the end, is different from when you move around. So you have to understand how best to, how your body should move or how your body should be so that you are able to command the crowd. And then useful and meaningful visual aid. We talked about that in the previous slide. It's very important that your slide has to be appealing. That alone will just be making some people's minds sweet, right? So you have to use everything at your arsenal. Anything that you can use to convince people, you do that. But don't forget, you have to quantify the problem, quantify the solution, quantify the impact of the solution and how much it will make them not lose, how much it will make them gain, because what these people look at is actually figure. Now, concluding this this module and the course in general, right? It's very important that we understand that a business case is an ultimate justification of any project. Is you trying to justify why a project should be executed, which the goal is for you to get approval from those that would approve it. It could be top management, it could be senior management, it could be board of directors, it could even be governing body for some organizations, especially for government organizations, really parastatal or agency. They have a governing body, rather. So they come together and then they make a decision. That's sort of like, the board of those agencies. So it is very important that you make your case, right, and that business case is of course the ultimate justification of you making a case on the need to approve, right? And that you have to build a suitable case by identifying the problem, the solution, the cost, the benefit, the risk, how you intend to manage the risk, and setting assumptions and constraints that are available, right? And that you must identify supporters, saboteurs, and every other variable that would either deter or promote your case. Because understanding them helps you manage those variables in your benefit, right? The case must be effectively presented and to have a chance of success. So my call to action is that you go back when you get to your workplace, your next issue or your next problem that you want to resolve, that you make a case. It helps you build confidence in this area, and it also gives you the experience of consciously doing everything that I've talked about. And then you would now understand even better, because you've not just listened to theory, you've gone ahead to practicalize it, and it would help it sink into your head that it becomes part of you. So I'll end the class here and open the floor for questions. That's one. Let's feel free to ask questions. Another thing that we can do is that any of us can also sort of talk about where or when they have done similar things like this, how they did it, just so that we can all learn from our individual experiences. So the floor is open. Who will be the first to take the mic? Yes. Let's go. Mr. Lewis, your mic is on. I mean, you're muted. You're unmuted, rather. So it seems like you want to say something. Yeah, go on, Mr. Lewis.
Thank you so much for the lecture.
Thank you.
I want to ask, I think this business case presentation is, there's some sort of difference between the business case presentation and proposals. How do we blend the two together?
Okay, good question. So it depends on how you look at it. When you do a proposal, what are you doing? Recall, I specifically spoke about one of our fellow participants here who mentioned that she has moved from managing facilities for other companies to setting up her own FM company. And I gave the instance that part of what she will be doing mostly now is trying to convince potential clients for her to manage their property, or for her company rather to manage their property. And in that case, what you're doing is that you're submitting a proposal, right? So you can record that I actually blended both together and I said it's almost the same thing, because when we talk about business case, what are we saying? We're just saying you identify problem, you come up with a solution, you propose the best solution, and then you present the cost. You also go further to talk about the risk, how you will manage the risk, and the KPIs to measure the benefits that will come from it and be sure that these benefits are achieved. Now, let's look at proposal in the case of an FM company proposing an FM service to a potential client. You have visited, you have assessed, you've identified the services that they need. You've also identified the problems that they are having, that you feel if we have this service, this bundle of services, it helps solve this problem. You can even go ahead to talk about not just the routine services, even some capital projects that would normalize things and make the place better, right? You're proposing all of this. You've submitted your proposal. Now, they call you to come and convince them. You have now done your presentation, which is a subset of the proposal that you have submitted already. You just took some information from that, put it in your presentation as pointers to guide you through the conversation, like we've talked about. And you've gone there to make a presentation. What you're still doing is that you're talking about the problem that they have. Of course, you would have talked about your business already. You know, what your values are, what you hold dearly, how you execute, why you are the best for this job. But beyond that, you've looked at the problem, and you've also gone ahead to say, these are the solutions, or these are the services that we are proposing. And we believe that if you do this service, it will make this place comfortable and you people will be happy. And you talk about the cost, you've even gone ahead to provide KPI, right? That these are the KPI that would guide, that you would use to measure our success while we are executing. All are not even almost exactly the same thing. The only difference is, the context. In this case, you are presenting it as an FM company to provide service. In this other case, you are presenting it as an FM company to implement a solution in the project that you're already executing. Now, let's even leave that. Let's go to even a business plan. A business plan. It's also the same thing. You've come up with a business plan. You've identified a problem within the society that you feel needs a solution, right? That, you've looked at Lagos. Let's assume you've looked at Lagos. Lagos is a very busy place with a large population that is, jam-packed, and everybody is busy. Everybody is in a hurry. People are not really able to do some things that they would like to do. And you feel that, okay, people get home very late. They cannot stop by the market to buy maybe their vegetables or this or that to cook in the house, especially the women. And you are now saying, you know what? I have identified this as a problem. And you want to provide a solution to that problem in form of a business. What are you doing? You want to now package vegetables that people can make call and it gets delivered to their house. And not just vegetable, maybe every other thing that, they all, maybe a ready to use vegetable, however you just choose to look at it. It's just an illustration, to help you understand that whether business proposal, whether a facility management proposal, whatever it is, what you are doing is that you are making a business case. Even within a business where you head a department and you feel that, oh, we need an additional product within the business, because you've looked at the environment, you've seen that this is a problem. Today, toothbrush or toothpaste, there is toothpaste that comes with menthol, there is toothpaste that comes with this, there's toothpaste that comes with that, but there's no toothpaste that comes with so type of flavor. And you've done your research, you see that people like this flavor. Having a toothpaste that has this flavor would help you, take some part of those market of those other, and you now decided that, oh, let's have this. You also have to make a case for your management on why you should develop a new product that focuses on that, because you've been able to identify that problem and you've seen it as a market, and now you are saying, let us serve that market by introducing a new product focused on that market. So however you choose to look at it, wherever you look at it, it is the same thing. It's just context that is different. What you're looking is problem, solution, cost, benefit, this, that. In the case of a business, problem, solution, market, cost, the revenue that will come, which is benefit. So it's the same thing.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Yes, go on, Daniel.
Yes, thank you very much for this interesting class. My question would like to be, in an organization that you hardly have access to the top management and you need to present your business case, you say likely you are going to do it through email. How do you make it to gain attention management since you are sending it through email?
I'm sorry, Daniel, I didn't get you well. Please, can you come again?
Okay. I was actually saying
it's better
in
an
organization that you hardly have access because we work in a remote area. You don't have access to management or top management as like that. Any information, any presentation will be through an email. How do you make a business case through email that will attract attention of the management?
Okay, so it speaks, so the secret to that is really what is the problem. You have to understand the problem very well. But let me put your question in a better context that you would understand better and everybody will understand better. You're saying the place you work, everything is email. I would assume that you people work remotely. If you send email, you can approach your manager in the office. Now, that okay, maybe you are doing remote work. Now, if it's a remote setting kind of work, of course, those things that bring you people together, or those conventional things that bring people together, like building, like those physical facilities, are not as relevant as it is in the conventional setting. So if you have a problem that has to do with office, I'm sure that some people will see that email and might not even respond to it, because what is the impact of the problem, right? So it's not about the email. Just get my answer. It's not about the email. It's about the problem. If the problem centers around even the remote work that people are doing. They will respond to that email very quickly. But when you send email, it shouldn't just end with sending an email. The email that you send, what is the content of the email? Does it speak to the problem? Have you done your research very well? So your understanding and the way you've been able to provide, to really explain the problem is what will make somebody respond to the email. I said it before that, have you been able to quantify the problem? Or have you been able to quantify the impact of the problem? Very important. If you put that in your email, why would they not respond to you? Unless maybe they are doing remote work and you are talking about office building that nobody goes to. Or you are talking about generator that nobody uses in the office. Unless maybe it's a data center or you have a data center in the building. Because, data center is critical for certain businesses, almost all businesses today. So at that point, they would immediately respond to your email, but just get my response to your question. What will make anybody respond to your email is how much you understand the problem and you've been able to explain the problem. And remember what I said. What draws their attention is how that problem impacts the top line and bottom line of the business. Put that there, and they will respond to your email within 10 minutes. Does that answer your question, sir?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Hello, Mr. Daniel. Okay, so any other question, please? Hello, any other question? Hello? So no experience for us to talk about. So Edidion, where are you? Go on. Go on, Edidion.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go on.
Hello, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I can hear you. Go
on. You are exactly. It's okay. You are a facility manager in. Let me see. Okay, it's not a multinational company. It's a mid-range company where everything that has to do with management is cut to size, and then it is always about budget and budget and budget. So now, you inherited a company where your facility management company is managing, and then a generator that is almost comatose. And then because of your wealth of experience, you do your analysis on the generator, you get the data, and you check how many kVA it is. Now we know that from 500 to 1000 kVA these days is in excess of 100 million and all of that because of the market rate and the exchange rate in the market. Now, how do you, for this kind of a company where you discuss everything to the detail, to the last bit where they talk about the least kobo that has to do with whatever it is that they do, and then you've made a case the first time, they turn it down because of cost, and then you have been able to manage the generator that was almost comatose the last 6 months. You have been able to run it for almost 1 year, and you have been asking for 2 new generators to be bought so that you can power, and they need this power seriously. How do you manage a situation like this, please?
Yes. So
there,
thank you very much, Edidion. So yeah, I can hear you. Thank you very much. I'll put it this way. So I'm trying to understand, a lot more better. Maybe because I know you, so I don't want to make assumptions. Right? So I don't want to make assumptions. Exactly. I want to be very clear. So you're saying you are an you are a facility manager for a company, right? I would assume that you are a staff of the company and that they have an issue with generator. You've requested for a new generator, but it was turned down because of budget, right? And You've been able to manage that generator.
Yes.
You've been able to manage that generator for 12 months against the 6 months that maybe repairers had anticipated that it would stay. That if it goes beyond 6 months, it could become a serious issue, right? And now you're saying, how do I convince them that this should be changed? I answered your question.
Exactly.
I answered your question before. I'll say it again. I'm sure when you raised the request, what you were doing was to be giving them technical details on why the generator should be replaced. You have not really taken the time to tell them the financial implications of not replacing that generator. That's where the problem is. So what you need to do is to go back and give them the financial implication of why the generator should be replaced. How do you do that? Look at what the business does. What do they do? What is their primary service? What is the role of the generator in terms of their primary service? If you take away the generator, how does it impact their primary service? Their primary service or product, if it's maybe a manufacturing company, is what generates income and revenue and income for them. So if the generator has a direct impact on that, so it means that if it shuts down, production cannot go on. If it shuts down, operations cannot go on. I'll give you some very brief examples. Like me, you didn't give those information, so I'm trying to draw up assumptions to make my response better and clearer. Let's assume that the place you talked about is a food business, a restaurant business, maybe a huge hotel, a hospitality business, a huge hotel, where power is critical to their business. If you take away generator and the grid supply goes out, for that hours that the grid supply goes out, that building, that hotel, or that restaurant is going to be without light. Even 30 minutes will create perception on their customers that they cannot change in 5 years. Perception is very difficult to change, which is why today businesses try not to create the wrong perception for their customer. You can create a wrong perception within 5 seconds, but that perception, you cannot change it. Sometimes you cannot change it in 5 years. It takes time for you to be able to change it. So this is the angle that you need to look at. Let's assume it's the terminal, right? Now, the question really is, how does the generator impact the terminal? I'll go further to break that down. In that place, they have expatriates that are working. They have Nigerian staffs that are working. They're paying them huge sum of money. Now, they need power to run some of those equipments that they would use to offload containers. They need power to monitor some of those devices that they will use to track everything that comes on board. Now, if you have 5 hours or 24 hours of no power, that would disrupt operations. In fact, if there's a ship in the dock that is meant to offload, they will park that ship until there's power, depending on how much power is needed for the operation. So it's now about you taking the time to assess all of these things, look at these things, so that when what you're doing, you're not just telling them, oh, this generator, it has been working for 10 years. It has run 10,000, 15,000 hours of use. It's comatose, so it will be comatose soon. We need to throw it away. They are speaking jargons. Nobody wants to hear that nonsense. What they want to hear is money. Edijon, I've always said it. It is money or nothing. So they want to know how money impacts business. how does this generator that you are talking about, because they might even have some other things in mind. You are the one that is looking at, you are focusing on the generator. Look beyond the generator. Stop speaking technical English. Start speaking financial English. Let them know the money impact of these things. The moment you are able to do that, trust me, they will answer you. They might not answer immediately, right? They will answer you. But another thing is, when they eventually answer you, or when they don't answer you, and then become a dead end, you have said it. It doesn't come back to you as the technical person on why there's a failure. You kept hammering it. And if you actually took the time to provide all that financial stuff that I told you about, they would start seeing it live. They might end up to go and rent a generator. How much it will cost them per day. In fact, I know those people. They'll buy a new generator that very day. If it's the same, if it's the place that I'm thinking of that you are making this illustration from, they will buy a new generator the same day. So it's about you giving them the financial implication of what it is. I'll say it again. What people look at is money. Look, just take yourself as an example. Forget workplace. Use yourself. Sometimes when you want to do some things, you are like, how is this thing going to add to my bank safe, to my bank account? At that point, you lose interest. Anything that adds to your bank account, it gingers you. Even the ones that does not directly add to your bank account. At the end of the day, when you look at the indirect impact on your bank account, you pick interest. Why is everybody here for this training? You want to develop yourself. Why do you want to develop yourself? Let us not lie to ourselves. Because you want
about money.
So start thinking like a money man. And trust me,
Okay, sir.
you will get what you want.
Thank you, sir.
Any other question? Any other question? I think that would bring us to the end of the class. We've already gone beyond 19 minutes. So, I mean, we've already done extra 19 minutes. So let's close the class at this point. So thank you very much for today's class.
Thank you very much.
It was an honor.
It's good to see you again.
Yeah, it's good to see you, Edidion.
Thank you very much, sir.
It's an honor having this class, and I'm very happy that we could come to the end of the class. I'm looking forward to the next class. So thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
There are some people here
Thank
that
you,
have
and
not
good
heard
night.
their mic. That have not heard their mic since, and I usually don't like it. At least
Thank you very much, sir.
Make una say bye bye.
Thank you, sir.
Have a conversation. Thank you very much, sir.
All right. Thank you, and have a lovely night rest.
You too, sir.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. It was a lovely class. I'm sure everyone enjoyed it. We'll be having our field trip coming up Saturday. So we dropped a poll on the WhatsApp group. So I would like each and every one of us to indicate if they will be coming or not. It's right there on the WhatsApp group. So
yeah. So Chief, sorry, I can leave now, right?
Yes, please. Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome. All right.